guys, welcome back to the channel. In this video we are going to be pulling off the stock S15 turbo, journal bearing turbo, and exchanging it, replacing it with a GTX2867R. We are going to be saying goodbye to the trusty stock T28, replacing it with the GTX 2867R. So work begins now, guys. I've got the bonnet off, as you can see. Just makes for just getting in there a lot easier because you're not having to bump your head and arms and so on the bonnet. The bonnet is over there. I've got all this intake piping, airflow meter, intercooler piping to take off. Catch can as well, just to make it easier. Take the strut brace off. That's got to go. And yeah, guys, so probably just going to jump straight to the turbo being removed because it's going to take me a lot of time. There's plenty of videos out there and probably most of you guys will know how to remove one. So progress so far has been good. Everything's disconnected. The coolant supply and drain and the oil feed and return lines have all been disconnected. I've only got one nut left on. So this is it. Last nut, and everything with the turbo, the exhaust manifold and turbo should come off. There we go, guys. Ugh. Stock turbo, stock manifold. Not too bad to get off. I've done enough of these now. It's pretty easy. Just those hard lines are a bit of a pain. Now on to setting up the new turbo. We are going to be having to swap a few things over, but it's looking good. Pretty nice and clean, as expected. Takes a little bit of time, but for the most part, not too bad. Now on to fitting the new turbo, guys. Let's get to it. So guys, this is the drain tube for the S15 JDM spec turbo, which we will be using. Alongside with new gaskets, we got the turbo to manifold gasket and the oil drain tube gasket. We've got the lock washers for the rear turbine exhaust housing, along with the bolts. Exhaust manifold gasket I've cleaned up, looking good. You can reuse these guys. They're a multi-layer, really top quality from Nissan. And yeah, we got the compressor housing here. And if I carefully flip it over, you do not want to drop these. You damage the fins, it's good as kaput, so to speak. It's got the nice anti-surge housing. And yes, guys, the GTX 2867R it is. You can see that's the oil drain. Got the oil feed on top, I believe, and then the coolant feed and return is on the side. And here is the exhaust rear turbine housing. Looks really good, doesn't it? It always looks good when it's new. And I've just put a few studs in. We're going to Loctite those in. This isn't just a standard T28 rear exhaust housing. If you actually look closer, I'll show you guys inside it. It's got a full channel, like an air channel inside. It looks pretty standard on the outside, but when you actually go looking on the inside, it is yeah, it's not quite the standard T28, I tell you that. So this is a 0.64 housing. I chose the 0.64 because I wanted like super response. I wanted the turbo to be the most responsive for the motor. Yeah, guys, it's going to be an awesome, fun turbo. We should hopefully get about 360 to 370 wheel horsepower on E85 with this turbo, running about 19 to 21 psi of boost, as long as the motor holds up, and I think it is a pretty strong motor. I'll just show you guys a little tip. When you're trying to clean that manifold face on the head, just grab a paint stick. They're really cheap, you can buy them down at your local automotive store. Snap the end off. Then you need your wet and dry, just a little bit of, I'm using just 2000, so just really fine. Bit of masking tape. You can see everything I've got here, just simple. So what I've got, I've made myself a little block, and you just basically tape the back, fold a piece over the little snapped off piece, and that just works really nicely with a little bit of water to clean up the face of the head. Little tip for you guys. So just get your little prepared piece of paint stick with attached wet and dry, and that's all you do. Simple as. Just gets all that carbon off the exhaust port, just around that ring. So when you put that new gasket on, it's just gonna be like perfect. So that's cleaned up beautifully, guys. Really nicely, just about that little method I showed you guys just then. All ready for the manifold gasket. So here we have it, the stock turbo. We need to split this now from the manifold. Note the hard lines. We're going to be fitting an Aeroflow kit here. Braided line kit is going to work nicely, do the job just fine. Not bad at all. It's just going to make installing the oil and coolant lines so much easier. So we need to remove these nuts, all 4 of them. Split the turbo from the manifold. You just need to bend those locking tabs. I've got some brand new locking tabs to fit. I really didn't want us to have to split this turbo. I wanted to keep it so that it could go on something else. But I've just decided that this manifold's going to be the best manifold to use. I do have another SR20 standard manifold. I'm sticking with standard just because of cost, because it's another $1,000 to get a U-Butte manifold. So for what you get out of it for my level, I'm just going to stick with the cast iron manifold. But this one is in better condition. If you're careful enough, you actually can reuse these locking tabs, but I've ordered a new set from GK Tech. These ones are actually genuine Nissan and I brought them new, but I decided I'd give GK Tech a go, seeing that they were a little bit cheaper. Now, a little trick, a little mechanics trick. What you can do, some of you guys might already know this or you might not. You get another spanner, and if you need some more leverage, you just do this very carefully. Makes it so much easier. It's like essentially a little breaker bar if used correctly. It's always a good sign when you're undoing one of these nuts, when you see the actual stud not moving. We'll just end up reusing these studs. What I should have actually done was just spray a little bit of WD-40 in there. That'll just help preserve the stud as well and just make it a little bit easier. Spray these back ones while I'm here. It does get a little bit tricky when you actually can't get the ring on the nut, so that's when you have to resort to open. And just, I've got snap-on, so I've got snap-on. So the U-Butte, for the money I paid, they should work well. And there's one nut. I've ordered some genuine nuts as well, guys, just because I wanted to, like, you should really replace them. You can get away with using them, reusing them if you really are desperate. That's what the locking tabs are for, but ideally you want to replace these with brand new ones. I'm just removing this coolant pipe just to make it a lot easier to get to those 2 nuts that are left. Just those last 2 now. Are you guys ready? Because this turbo is coming off. Here we go, guys. And there we have it, guys. That's the turbo off the manifold. As easy as that. Just those 4 nuts and the locking tabs. Try go easy on the locking tabs, and if you're careful, you'll be able to reuse them. But yeah, guys, that's what they look like right there. One of those. Anyway, we've got some new ones on order. They should be here tomorrow. And that is the turbo. Served me well, it has. And I could still run this on another car.